Hey guys, going to talk about SPEC. I kind of missed the Acon train today, so traded this. Good news is both my long and my short pattern worked. So there's been, in general, three long patterns I've been doing, and one of them has been kind of like longing during the beginning of a pre-market parabolic. Sometimes you can do it intraday, but it's usually in the pre-market where there's a big kind of imbalance on the book between bids and asks, where a lot of bids are being stacked. That's one. The second log I do a lot is these weak market opens, right? Because just how stocks opening near um, the top of their range in the pre-market, for example, at Acon today, ACON today, is actually very bearish. Stocks opening near the bottom of their ranges tend to be very bullish, right? So there's a lot of interesting stuff going on with this chart. I'll kind of go over it, but here's my long. There was a book map bid, right? Oops, this is supposed to be yellow. Let's make this bigger. There's a book map bid right at 250 here. And this is a really nice market open long because we have some controlled, what I call a controlled walk down, where a stock is being walked down with lower highs. And you'll see this in pre-market where the stock is continually getting pushed down with nonstop lower highs towards the bottom of its range. It sometimes even swipes its range, right? Sometimes it kind of depends on what the market open looks like, what the book looks like. But overall, it's it's swiping a lot of support levels and it's opening at the bottom of its range. Um, a big reason I went long too is because the market open candle was about 400K, which is pretty nice, pretty decent volume for this type of pattern to work. Sometimes this pattern, if you look at SSNT from Friday or Thursday, sometimes you get stocks that they'll trade like under 100K, and this pattern will work, but they're extremely difficult to know which ones are going to do that, and it's difficult to size in, right? Because it's usually super spready, super thin. These are nicer because the volume often shows if you get like some decent volume, like 300K, 500K. I would say it has to be at least over 300K um, uh, to have a little bit of confidence in this type of pattern. It's even better if it's like over 500,000 per minute. Then it's really good. If everything else kind of aligns, but yeah, the spread tends to be tighter and the pattern just tends to work better. So um, I wanted to get closer to 250, but it wasn't going down there, so I threw some on into 260s. And I love this. I love these little fake breakout candles right before the initiation. You see that a lot in this type of pattern where um, it often happens on MAs like the VWAP or the 1 minute 200. You'll see, or the 1 minute like 50 might be declining, where it will reject. It keeps the kind of lower trend line going, and then it soaks and then it initiates, right? Kind of when no one's expecting it. And in low floats, we always learn that. We always learn that the long is very unexpected, right? And we're also going to learn why this is an A plus short, right? So I long this, and I thought, oh, maybe it'll attack these 330 guys. So I sold some at 3 just to sell some. Important note, guys, is low float started getting a lot weaker last week. Outside of Nexi, which was happening kind of on its own, it had like its own, with the delisting pump, it has kind of like an X factor attached to it, um, where normal just day one low floats were very weak last week. We got a lot of high day clearouts fading. We got a lot of morning fades. We got some pre-market fades. It's shifting to a weaker market, which kind of lines up with, the market was decently strong for about 6 to 8 weeks, and usually that's how long, a good cycle lasts before you start seeing some changes in the market, right? So, um, this short, and this is me selling my long. This short right here, this is a painted flag. Very painted higher lows, painted lower highs, big, you know, initiation candle right here. Any long who missed the real long, which is down here, very counterintuitive long, is going to see this flag set up, and they're going to be expecting a breakout of this level, right? But in reality, the book on this was very bearish, very, very bearish. So we'll go over. So that was my short, and then I took a little bit off, and then I covered at the 5-minute 200, and that was a short. We can go to, here's the chart. Other kind of things about this chart is a bearish factor. Besides kind of the shift in market conditions, is these 4 a.m., 5 a.m. parabolics tend to be very weak. A lot of my short friends in Europe and Asia will play these at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. I'm not waking up in Central Time America to do it, but a lot of them will wake up. I mean, they'll be up and uh, they'll make trades on these kind of like these 80%, 100%, 150% pre-market parabolics that are super early in the day. A lot of times with wider risk, and a lot of them are very weak. Even during all of December, where it was very strong, um, not a lot of 4 a.m., 5 a.m. parabolics really had continuation. So, um, so that's a bearish factor. But I was looking at this in the market open. I'm like, oh, this is like, my Discord room information down below about it was like, hey, what would the short be? I'm like, well, but without knowing what was going to happen at market open, I was like, it'd be nice to get above 330 because that's the top of this pre-market level. So maybe make a push up to here and pull it, right? But what really matters is what happens in market open. What's the volume looking like? What's the structure going into market open? What's the volume looking like? And what's the book looking like? And then you can make changes your plans, right? About what's the chart paint looking like, right? So, we'll go to market open on the book here. Where's my book map? I just have it minimized. There we go. So, SPEC. So here's market open, and the weak market open long, and you really want to see bid support, preferably multiple layers of bid support, but I liked how 250 through 253 had some nice orders. You can see it was about 20K, and I really liked, yeah, that's a sandwich, Princess, that's my daughter. And you can see how empty the order book is at upside, so we have this imbalance of, I did see the orders near 3, but I figured if this pattern was going to work, it was at least going to push 3 because it's an obvious level to kind of squeeze and go for. So that's why I sold some at 3. And then, the reason I started selling really heavily is because you could see on the book, this is where the book could tell you a lot of information, that there are all these orders sitting from 310 to 330 and even more at 350, 360, where it's like 10 to 20K orders all over the place up here. So if you get this type of manipulation, this market open long manipulation, squeezing, you really want to see almost instant continuation. You don't want to see like deep 10% pullbacks. You don't want to see 3, 4, 5, 6 layers of ask. You want to see the market maker kind of slap in all these orders, right? And once it started struggling and knifing, I started getting out. Now, after this pushed in, I was holding a little bit into this push, and once this push started knifing, I'm like, all right, I'm going to get ready for the short. Maybe it's the wrong move, but I think the market's getting a bit weaker. And there's a lot of offers up here, so let me wait for some type of entry signal, right? Because if we go to Thinkorswim, I got out the rest of my long on this pullback, but I don't want to chase here, right? Maybe you were smart enough to short the fake breakout at 3.2, but since I'm not in there, I'm waiting for some type of pattern, right? And a lot of times, if you just wait for the range to set up, and see what the chart paint looks like, you get a much cleaner entry signal, right? I don't have to sell my long and flip short down here. I was just waiting. I saw the 1 minute 200. It bounced right off of it. I'm like, cool. Made another lower high. I'm like, all right. In terms of long traps, you always want to know where are the lower highs being set, right? And there's a bunch right at 309 and 310 here. So I told my Discord, I'm like, hey, I'm waiting for the initiation over 310, right? And there's higher lows. I said it right. I said it at 10:09 right before it initiated. I was like, there's painted higher lows. I'm waiting for 310. It's just pushed through 310, and we could see on the book that this push is really what you want to see, because you have multiple like 20k ass stacked up here, um, and this is also a common little trick where they like to push. The market maker will let the stock fill. These are all like 8k, 10k, 12k asks, and you can see this on the level 2 where the market maker on these green bubbles is letting these big asks get filled. He's letting them get filled, usually by retail kind of initiating the flag, because it's a flag, right? And you can see the complete lack of bid follow-up, right? So there's a big lack of bid follow-up. It's pushing to 315, and I wanted it over 310, which is this ask, and I saw it get to 315, and I actually just started instantly shorting it, because I just assumed it wasn't going to break. I had these two huge asks up here. I saw the lack of bid follow-up, and the flag was super painted, right? So yeah, I mean, it just worked right away. It soaked for a little bit, and then it faded to the 5 minute 200, which is right here, which is where I started covering a lot of this, right? So yeah, I guess, main lessons, a lot of these 4 a.m., 5 a.m. parabolics are quite weak, especially if the market's turning weaker. These are very weak. And, you know, you can have a thesis of what level you're waiting for. I was waiting for 330s, but then, you know, if the if the book is super thick from 316 to 330, then it might not eat through all those asks, right? Especially if the market's turning weaker, and you can see these pullbacks, like the volume on these pullbacks wasn't overly impressive, especially during this flag right here. You're kind of hoping, if you're waiting for 330 on a push like this, you're hoping like a million shares a minute starts coming in out of nowhere, right? And a lot of times it's just not going to have that liquidity. And I liked how painted this flag was. This was a nice painted flag, nice painted initiation, filled up a bunch of, they probably filled like 40, 50,000 shares worth of ask on this push. And I just market ordered it, and it just went straight down, and it worked great. So made about, I don't know, 35, 40 cents on the long, and made 70 cents or something on the short. So, and for a play with okay range, not like super amazing, but decent range, worked out pretty well. And yeah, that's SPC. Only thing I really got to say about Acon was Acon was on SSR, which when you see a rollover like this, right, you always have to think about where are shorts positioned, because on this rollover, especially from like 640 to 480, there was no bounce. It literally just went straight. If I could pull up the book map, but if we actually, let me just do that, because you could see it even more clear. When you get a rollover like this is Acon. You gotta understand, like, there's no shorts getting filled on their short if the stock's on SSR, right? So that means most shorts are going to have their average when the bounce starts happening, which is down here in the fives, which from a manipulation standpoint is very bullish. Um, and I mentioned that in my Discord room. I was like, hey, this is on SSR, so you have to think about where shorts have their averages, right? And they're having their averages down here, and now you have a bunch of empty space. Now they did started filling these asks up here, but these market makers, you could see the bids come in, right? You can see the bidders come in here. You can see these bidders catch the stock, right? They're catching this guy, and this guy's catching the stock. And I was thinking about shorting it, but the problem was these bidders started throwing up these bids. I didn't want to short it down here because it was kind of too far away from high day. Um, and I didn't, even though this was an aggressive push, I didn't want to get in. And then once it started getting closer to high day, not only do we have bid support on this push following this up, now it does look like they were pulling it, but I kind of wanted a pullback in a set. I'm a big fan of waiting for second pushes, and I knew this 6.5 level was kind of being held, so I was like, oh, it'd be cool to get a push through the 6.5 level. But the problem was you could see they came back in with the bids for the high day clear out. Which is why I didn't take the short there. I should have taken the short at market open. I'm just not a big fan of shorting at 9:30. But a key lesson here is this was another controlled walk down. They were walking down the stock here. And a lot of times walk downs in the open can be really strong, at least for one more push. Like, oh, maybe they push it to 7 and then long trap it and pull it, right? Maybe that's I had that thesis in mind. Maybe walk it down in the open, do one more squeeze, and then do the all day fade pull, right? But they initiated it right at 9:29, and usually if you get like bullish initiations within a couple minutes of market open, I would say within like, I don't know, especially within like 5 minutes of market open, a lot of times those initiations are really weak, right? They're doing like a bull flag initiation or like a downtrend break initiation here and then they dump into market open volume. It's actually really common. I was actually hoping this candle was going to push back into like the 660s, 670s, like back up here, and then make a read, but it kind of just stalled and went straight down, so kind of a big miss for me. So this video is more of a focus on SPC, and yeah, nice. This is a classic market open long, and then you're painted short, and they both worked. So it's good to see. Morning shorts work. We're seeing pre-market shorts work. We're seeing market open shorts work. We're seeing some shifts in the market towards weakness. It's nice after how relentless December is, where you're on your setup all day. You have to read 8 different structures on a ticker, and you have to decide if you want to keep trading it and what your entry should be. And it's just like so relentless. Where this is just a lot easier. So nice. I hope the rest of this week kind of continues in this direction. So by the way, ELEV. This is a thin volume BS. I don't trade this. This is thin volume BS. did not even think about trading this. And that's about it. So you guys have a good one. See ya.